Hey, this is attorney Elizabeth Potts Weinstein, and today we're going to talk about how much money does it really take to start an LLC in California. So an LLC, or a limited liability company, is not something that you're required to do when you start a business, but a lot of people will form an LLC to protect their personal assets from the liability of the business, sometimes for tax reasons, and sometimes because you may be hired by companies who require you to be an LLC or corporation because they don't want to be accused of having an accidental employee and owing employment taxes on your earnings. But like anything else we do in business, forming an LLC costs money. So what's the minimal amount of money you will have to spend to start your LLC? And by the way, I'm talking about doing it yourself, not hiring a lawyer, not using LegalZoom or some other service, but the minimum requirements it takes for all the kind of government filing fees. To form your LLC in California, it's going to cost $70 just to file the forms with the state of California online. You also may decide to get a certified copy of what you file, which is a good idea. So you can use that to open up your bank account and stuff like that. And that's an extra $5 as of the time that I am recording this video. The next required expense is going to be a franchise fee. This is like an annual tax that's not called a tax, it's called a franchise fee that you have to pay for any LLC or corporation in California, either because you form it in California or you're an out-of-state business that has an office or some location in California such that you're legally located here or have an office here or have a nexus here. That annual fee is $800 a year minimum. It's more if you're making tons of money, but if you're starting a brand new business, you're probably not in that category yet. Now, there are special rules for S corporations that you only have to pay for a portion of the year. But here's the thing, that doesn't necessarily apply to an LLC unless you're taxed as an S corporation, and that gets into details beyond the scope of this video. But just assume that you're going to have to pay that $800 for the calendar year no matter when you file your LLC. So if you create it in January, it's from January to December. But if you create it in December, you have to file the $800 for the whole year. So you want to be aware of this issue. Think about when you're filing and when you're creating your LLC and see if that rule applies to you specifically. The last required filing that you're going to need to do with the state of California is a statement of information. This is, as of right now, a $20 filing fee if you do it online. And it's just telling them things like, here's your physical address, here's your mailing address, here are the different members of the LLC, here are the officers of the LLC and their locations, what your registered agent is, which is probably the same registered agent as you had on your original form. You have to file that in the beginning within 90 days, I think, of when you create your LLC. It's best just to do it at the same time. And then you have to file it every couple of years after. Corporations have to file it more often than LLCs. So those required fees for your first year are almost $900. The second thing we're going to talk about are fees that you're probably going to have to do. So the first category is a business license. You may or may not need a business license because it depends upon exactly where you're located and the kind of business that you have. So if you're in San Jose, California, if you're in the city of Los Angeles, every single business there has to get a general business license, which they actually kind of call a tax registration. Same thing. And the fee depends upon the kind of business you have, how much money you're making, how many employees you have, all that kind of stuff, depending upon where you are. I would budget like $200 a year for that when you start out and you have a simple one-person business, and then it'll go up from there depending upon the complexity of your business. Occasionally, you don't need a business license. If you're in an unincorporated area, in a rural area, sometimes you don't need one. So it's something that you're going to have to look into for your particular location. The next item you'll probably have to do, but maybe not, is a DBA, a doing business as registration. In California, those are done at the county level. So you do a county filing, and then you have to publish that information in a newspaper, usually a special legal newspaper. So those exact requirements are different from county to county. So you need to see what they are in your particular location. And it only applies if the business name, like your trade name that you use on your website and your marketing, is a different name than the legal name, the LLC name. You may use the same name, so you don't need to do a DBA, or you may need to do that. The third category are things that are a very good idea to set up for your business. We're talking about bookkeeping. Now, you can do free bookkeeping where you just have a spreadsheet and you just write down your income and expenses there. But you may want to sign up for some kind of service like QuickBooks Online or Xero. There's a whole bunch of different ones. Some of them there are ones that are free. Some of them are like $7 a month. Some of them, the minimum is $25 a month. So you want to budget $100, $200, $300 a year for your bookkeeping. And that's if you do it yourself. The second thing that you're probably going to want to set up is taxes. So every year you're going to file a tax return for your LLC. The LLC may be taxed as a pass-through entity where you're personally paying taxes on the money it distributed to you, but the LLC still has to file a tax return. Sometimes with the state, sometimes if you're an S corporation, if your LLC taxed as an S corporation, you'll have to file an S corporation tax return. If you're an LLC taxed as a partnership, you have to file a partnership tax return. Okay, it can get very complicated. And you need to look into whether or not you're going to be able to handle that yourself, or if you need to hire someone to do that. If you're an LLC that is a one owner business and is a pass-through tax entity, so it's just on your Schedule C, you could use TurboTax for that. But they don't have a TurboTax for S corporations, okay? So they don't have a TurboTax for partnerships. So if you have a more complicated tax situation, you're probably going to want to hire someone to do that. And that could be $500 a year, $1,000 a year. It really depends upon your location. The last aspect is you want to make sure your LLC is fully capitalized. What does that mean? It means that it needs to have enough money sitting inside of it to keep operations continuously going on. How much money that is really depends upon the kind of business you have. It may be a couple $100 if you have a really simple service-based business. It may be thousands of dollars, maybe tens of thousands of dollars that need to be sitting in that bank account. It depends upon whether or not you have inventory, whether or not you have employees, how much money you owe your vendors. There's many factors that go into this, but you want to consider how much money you're going to need to put into your LLC to make it look legit, like a real business. The idea of this money you're putting in, your personal money, is that you're buying the membership shares. It's like kind of like buying the stock in your business. So you want to make sure the LLC is fully capitalized because that will help show that it's a legit LLC. The bottom line is that it will cost at least $900 a year to set up your LLC in the first year. It may be a few $1,000s a year, depending upon how many people you hire to help you and where you're located and how many resources you need. That's before you even make money. Because you pay the $800 a year franchise fee, for example, to California, even if your business loses money. So you want to make sure you have a realistic expectation for how much money it costs just to do that admin overhead for your LLC before you do that first filing. Again, this is attorney Elizabeth Potts-Weinstein. If you have any questions about setting up your LLC, feel free to ask them below and I'll try to point you in the right direction. If you would like to learn more about forming your business, about running an ongoing business, subscribe to this channel. You can hit that subscribe button right there and hit a thumbs up if you found this video helpful. Thanks a lot for watching.